I also want to read a Zohar, strange as it may sound, which again indicates the awesome power that existed and continues to exist in Persia. Because all of us could have asked the question. There were Jews left after the destruction of the first temple in Israel. Not all Jews were banished from Israel. Why? Why did it happen in Persia? And what is even stranger than the fact that for the first time there was a revelation enough and sufficient for all of mankind to benefit from this light, the action of the Persian Jews in Persia at that time? I read you the finale of the scenario. It began in Persia, and how is it going to end? How is it going to end? Who knows? Are we prophets? But because we do not have to be prophets, says the Zohar, if we can only access into the information contained in the Zohar, we are then already prophets. We don't have to guess. We can tell what the future is going to consist of, and then intelligently observe the movements around us. Says the Zohar in Parshat Shlach Lecha, talking about Mashiach.
Hello? Yes? Is this for the Rav? Yes, just a minute.
Hello? Yes. Yes, okay. This is not the call. This is Mexico, but I'm expecting another call. Yeah, okay, ask me to hold it. I read now from the Zohar, bringing a verse from an obvious place, which deals with the subject matter under discussion, from Daniel. Verse in Daniel, chapter 5. Valzeh Sameach HaMashiach, and he's discussing in this particular section the idea of Mashiach. V'samach Rosh HaYeshiva shenidvaseh b'zeh, and the Rosh Yeshiva, the head of the companions, will rejoice in the fact that this is being explained, this is being brought to the forefront. And the companions, Rabbi Shimon and his companions, were sitting and asking, because in Daniel, which is in Aramaic in this particular section, he's discussing Paris Prisat Malchutecha Be'aviv Lemadai Uparas. Speaking about Mashiach, he discusses again Paras Umadai. Paras Umadai, as we will read this evening, refers to Persia. And the idea that Mashiach has to do with Persia, again, finished. History has already made its imprint on mankind. We Jews here and all over the world where they understand what the Megillah is about will take advantage of the reading this evening. But what does Persia now have to do with Mashiach? Amalo kachu vadai. Zohar says absolute. Absolute. The idea of Mashiach, again, Mashiach will be bound up with Paras. Going to be bound up again with Persia, like we could never get rid of the Persians. Paris Prisat Malchutecha Harasha'a al Yedei Mashiach Ha'acher. There will be a war. The Mashiach Acher, there'll be two Mashiachs. Without going into the details, Mashiach ben Yosef and Mashiach ben David. And after all of these preliminaries to the coming of Mashiach, when there will be wars with Mashiach ben Yosef, some say that he may die. ואחר כך ישלוט מלך פרס ויכבוש הרבה מלוכות. That Persia, in the time of Melech HaMashiach, will again take control over the entire world as it once did. I can tell you personally, I have seen the plan. Plan that was established in 1976 in Persia on how to take control over the entire world. I saw it. And it's on schedule. ויכבוש הרבה מלוכות, they will capture all of the countries. והוא ישלט על ארץ הקדושה. Not only will he rule all over the world, but he will also rule over Israel. Yud Bet Chodesh. His presence will be in Israel. Or what do we think? The invincible Israel, B'li Ayin Hara, let it remain so, will remain. Not under the circumstances that they present themselves. It doesn't appear how they could remain. But we believe that we are invincible in Israel. והוא ישלוט על ארץ הקדושה י"ב חודש. והוא ישלוט ויהרוג רבים. And he will slaughter and annihilate many in Israel. ובתוכם, and amongst them, Mashiach Ahu, Mashiach ben Yosef. ואחר כך ייפול מלך פרס, and only then, after the 12 months, shall he fall. Very strange coincidence. Here we talk about the first time, and unfortunately, the only time that the Jews experienced Mashiach was during the time of Esther and Mordechai. Now again, in our time, that same country will emerge as the world power. Some of us have our doubts, although Twin Towers could set some example as to where they're going. As everyone knows today, it is connected with Iran. But what does that mean for us? And why this connection? Why Persia? Why Persia? Which was our original question. Why there did the Jews first experience real freedom? Not in the wilderness, not during the Holy Temple, but after they were banished by Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylonia, overrun by the Babylonian Empire, only to wind up in Persia. And there, for the first time, demonstrate the power of the Zohar, demonstrate the power of the names that we make use of this evening. And again, after almost over 2,000 years, who will be the formidable foe that will capture the entire world, including Israel again? And we are under the impression, after 2,000 years, we have come in control of Israel. And here the Zohar, 2,000 years ago, is not predicting. Rabbi Shimon was not a prophet. Rabbi Shimon only knew the future, because for him, past, present, and future was all in the same frame of reference. Now, he could see all parts of the movie. It's like we go to a movie. While we may not know the end, but it's on film already, there's no problem about the end. So too is the course of history. So too is the course of history. But why there? Why again? And we come to the usual answer. For those of you who have been studying Kabbalah for a long time, know that when we discuss Jerusalem is the holy city, unlike most Jews who say the reason why the holy city is holy of Jerusalem is because the holy temple was located there, we know it's the other way around. We know the cause is not the temple. The temple is something of a physical nature. Temple is an effect. The land of Israel is the energy center of the world. The energy center mentioned in Bereshit by the Zohar in detail, where Shina, the root of all of the nourishment, not the manifestation. Europe is the manifestation of the Dark Lord. He plays games. Satan plays games. Doesn't play him only in Persia. Once in a while, he'll come around on Purim, try to annihilate all the Jews. But he was unsuccessful in his home base. So what does he do? Goes out of his home base. Because as we know, a home base of extreme negativity is like poison ivy. The poison ivy leaf is always accompanied. Adjoining the poison ivy leaf is the leaf that can cure poison ivy. Alongside every form of negativity, alongside we find positivity. The reason that Mordechai, Esther, and Daniel are in Shush or Hamadan. Daniel is in Shush. Why are they there? Because they died there? No. Because they, for all subsequent generations, whether the Jews had an idea of making use and utilizing Mordechai and Esther and Daniel, unfortunately Jews have never dreamt of taking advantage. They would go there and ask for a blessing. Little did they know that you just don't go there for a blessing. You've got to connect with them. They're not physical human beings that we come and there we are. They're connections. Those connections are mentioned in the Zohar. How do you connect when you go to visit Mordechai and Esther or Daniel? They didn't know. The reason they're there is because they, as Persia, will be dealing with the exile. With the exile. It is that buffer. When used, it is the buffer to keep the negative aspect, the Gehenom, which the source is in that area. The root, the origin of Satan is located in that area. It's like Bavel. Today, Saddam Hussein, they are there. So that if we can connect and tap their energy because they have connected to the positive side, to the positive energy that must of necessity exist there, so as to create a security shield around Satan, around his wellspring of energy. God has never created evil in the world without an appropriate accompanying magen, without an accompanying shield to secure ourselves. What we are doing this evening is connecting with Mordechai and Esther. We're connecting with Daniel so that we can tap the energy, as I will read from the Zohar. Why was his name Mordechai? That was his name. That's the kind of response you'll always get. That was his name. Not so, says the Zohar. Mordechai is a code, just as Esther is a code. And without the revelation of the Zohar and the Yeri HaKadosh, we have no access. All we can think about is physical ingenuity, how to escape, how to remain survivors as opposed to being victims, rather than take the initial step forward in creating for us, wherever we're located, wherever we are, to prevent disaster from befalling us. And therefore, tonight we make that connection because Persia deals with the exile. Persia deals with the exile. In annihilating Satan, we must make those connections. That's what they did. That is exactly the methodology by which they were able to contain Satan and his horde.